Hi everybody, this is Lindsay from windingroadcrochet.com, and today I'm going to show you how to crochet this buttoned plaid cowl. So here you can see the buttoned plaid cowl, and the written pattern as well as the material list for this cowl can be found on my website at windingroadcrochet.com. There'll be a link in the description box below. I've made a lot of fun plaid patterns lately. Here is my plaid ear warmers, my plaid chunky bun beanie, my plaid chunky beanie for men, as well as this plaid cowl that you are seeing here today. And I'm not done yet. Right now the next pattern I'm working on in the plaid is a infinity scarf that matches this plaid cowl here. So make sure you subscribe to my channel and then jump over to my website and sign up for my email list so that you get notified of my new free crochet patterns. So today we're going to need a size H crochet hook or whatever crochet hook you need in order to meet the gauge. The gauge will be on the written pattern. We're also going to need a pair of scissors, some embroidery floss to sew on your buttons, as well as 4 buttons, and then a yarn needle in order to sew on the buttons as well and to weave in your ends. So in order to make this plaid pattern, you are going to need 3 colors for the plaid design and then 1 accent colors for the edging and the button closures. In order to make your cowl look like a plaid, you are going to need 2 main colors and then 1 color that's a perfect blend in between them. So today we're going to use the black and the red as our 2 colors, and then to bring those 2 together we will be using this pretty maroon. And these are all worsted weight Red Heart with Love yarn. You do not have to make this pattern in a red. You can use any colors you want. You just want to make sure you have the 2 colors and then a perfectly blended color for that medium color. So let's go ahead and get started to make our cowl. To get started, we'll go ahead and make a slip knot, and then we are going to chain 82 chain. If you want to make this cowl longer or shorter, you're going to need to add or subtract chains in the amount of 8. But for the regular men's cowl, the adult size, we will be making a chain of 82. So a few things to be aware of as I chain 82 chains here is that I do not count my turning chain as a stitch. So when I say to work 4 stitches, we are not going to work into the turning chain, so you do not want to count that as a stitch. Also, something to be aware of is I like to chain 2 at the beginning of each row instead of the usual chain 3. It's going to be important that you chain 2 as well, as this will affect how we work down the side of the rows later. So here I have 82 chain, and we are going to go ahead and start our pattern by working in the 3rd chain from the hook. We're going to use our medium color, the same color we chained with, and work 4 double crochet. So in order to make a plaid pattern, we are going to work our first 4 double crochet in the medium color, which in this case is our maroon, and then we will work the next 4 in a black. So here I'm working my 2nd double crochet. I'm working into the back bumps of the chain, so that makes this a little harder. You can do that, or you can work in the side of the chain. Either way is fine. There is my 3rd double crochet. Now I'm working my 4th double crochet. I'm finishing it just to show it to you, but in fact we're actually not going to complete the 4th double crochet all the way. This is where we're going to change our color. So I'll grab my black yarn, and instead of yarning over that last part with the maroon, instead we will yarn over with our black and pull that through the last 2 loops, and that's how you will change your color. And if you didn't catch it, don't worry, we're going to do this a number more times and I'll show you how to do it again. Now my maroon, I'm going to lay along my chain, and I'm going to be working over that maroon yarn. So our next 4 double crochet will be with the black. And yes, I'm still working into those back bumps, so it will take me just a little bit longer. It's a little harder, but I really like how it looks when you work into the back bumps of the chain versus into the side of the chain. So here is my second black double crochet, my third black double crochet. We're going to pull that tail, that black tail, out of my way because I was working over it for just a few stitches. And then this is my fourth black double crochet, and I'm going to change colors again. So you yarn over, pull it through the first two loops, and then for that last part we're going to yarn over with the maroon instead and pull that through the two loops so that we have a color change. So you have 4 double crochet in maroon and then 4 double crochet in black, and we are just going to keep repeating this pattern all the way down. So now I'm working with my maroon and I'm working over my black yarn, working 4 maroon, so here's my 4th double crochet in maroon, and we'll go ahead and change back to the black. But let me show you a trick real quick because you can often get these two yarns really tangled. So if you see my maroon yarn here, I'm going to leave that to the front of my work and I'm going to leave the black in the back of my work. So I don't want to twist that black in front of the maroon when I change colors. And if you keep doing this, you won't tangle your colors. So we'll make 4 of our black double crochets. We're just repeating that same pattern and we'll repeat that down the entire chain. But we'll make 4 double crochets, and then I will show you again how I will take my maroon yarn and keeping it in front of the black yarn, I will yarn over, and if you continue that throughout the whole project, you will not get those two yarns tangled. And especially when we start working with 3 yarn, we definitely don't want to get that tangled up. That can really slow down your project. So now again we're getting to a color change, and I'm going to take this maroon yarn, keeping it in front of that black yarn. I will yarn over and pull it through. So now we have 2 sets of our repeats, and you'll keep repeating this pattern all the way to the end of the chain. So this is the last double crochet of row 1, and you can see how with me working into those back bumps it gives me a nice clean edge. And now we're going to go ahead and start row 2. You can see that pretty plaid pattern is starting to come together, but you still won't see it for another 3 rows. So for row 2, it's going to be important to work black double crochet into the black double crochet of the previous row, and then we're going to work maroon double crochet into the maroon double crochet of the previous row. So as long as the stitches match the rows you did before, you're fine. You don't even have to count. You just need to work it into the same color of the previous row. So here we've chained 2, and we are going to turn our work. And then you want to move your maroon thread up so that we're still working over it, so it's right there when we need to change colors. And again, it's the same pattern, just in reverse. We're going to do 4 black double crochet, 4 maroon double crochet, or you can just make sure you work the same color into the stitch of the previous row. So black into black and maroon into maroon. And we'll do this all the way down to the end. I have yarn bowls for 2 of my colors, and my black I'm just pulling from the center, and so you can see our little black spider crawling up on us here. So I'm on my very last of my 4 black double crochet, and now I'll change over to the maroon, still keeping that maroon thread in front of that black thread to keep everything from getting tangled, keeping the black on the back and the maroon up front. And then I'll do another 4 maroon, and we just keep repeating this all the way down the rest of the row. So here we are on the last double crochet of the second row, I'm not going to finish that off right yet because we're going to change colors to our lighter red. But here you can see how 2 rows together equals 1 square of our plaid pattern. So right now we're not going to work with the black anymore. We're just going to let that hang there. And then we're going to yarn over with our lighter red color. Pull that through the last 2 loops of that last stitch. And then we're ready to start row 3. So from here we'll chain 2 and then we will turn our work. So for row 3 we're going to be using the maroon and the light red and working 4 double crochet. So for this row you're going to work red into maroon stitches and maroon stitches into black stitches of the previous row. And again, it's still going to be 4 double crochet of one color, 4 double crochet of the other, starting with the lighter red. But again, you don't have to count. You just have to know to work red stitches into maroon stitches for row 3, and then maroon stitches into black stitches for row 3. So we'll go ahead and change over to our maroon color. This time I'm keeping the maroon in the back and the red in the front to keep my yarn from getting tangled. And if you can look, you can see that I have my black over to the side. I am not carrying that with these two throughout the project. When you carry a third yarn like that, it really reduces the amount of stretch that you have, and I'll show you that a little bit later. It also just wastes yarn when in this case you really don't need to do that. So now that we've worked 4 of the maroon double crochet, we're switching back to the red because we're going to be working into maroon stitches. And you will repeat this pattern down the entire cowl. Now we're working our maroon stitches into the very last black stitches of the last row, and we are finishing this off with maroon. So as we go on to row 3, it's going to be exactly like row 2 in the fact that we are going to be working the same color stitches into the same color stitches of the previous row. We're just going to make these squares taller. So here you can see that since we're not carrying that black thread, we actually have a good amount of stretch into this pattern. So let's go ahead and start on row 4. You want to make sure you pull up that red yarn so that you can crochet over it. And then we're just going to crochet maroon stitches into the maroon stitches of the previous row. So our third double crochet, our fourth double crochet. Let's change colors, still keeping that red yarn in front of the maroon. And it doesn't matter which yarn's in front, just as long as you keep it consistent. Now we're working 4 of our red double crochet into the red stitches from the previous row. And you'll just repeat this all the way down. It's that simple. So after getting a few repeats done, you can start seeing that plaid pattern come together. So I will just go ahead and finish the rest of this row. So here we are at the end of row 4. We're changing back over to the maroon. You can see how our squares are coming together to make our plaid design. So in order to finish the rest of the plaid design of the cowl, all we are going to be doing is repeating rows 1 through 4 for a total of 4 times and a total of 16 rows. So we just did 1 time of a repeat, so you have 3 more repeats to complete in order to get the entire part of the plaid part of the cowl. So looking at the finished cowl, you can see how we repeated the first 4 rows for a total of 16 rows. So go ahead and finish those rows, and then I'll come back and I will show you how to add the gray along the top and the bottom, and then I will show you how to add the side enclosures for the. And before you go ahead and finish this part, I'm going to show you how to carry your yarn up the side of our work. So we'll chain 2 and flip this over, and then this row we're going to be using the medium color and that black. So I'm just going to take this yarn this black yarn, pull it up the side, and then we're going to double crochet over it with the maroon. And that's going to lock that in place. So you do have this coming up the side, but we're going to single crochet over that later, so it's no big deal. So here's the finished plaid section of the cowl, and it's looking really nice, has that plaid design. I went ahead and cut all my yarn. I'm going to yarn over and pull that last part through to create a knot. You can see that I have these yarn pieces carried up the side, so I only have 6 tails to weave in, and this is a really good time to go ahead and weave in your tails. So I'm going to grab my yarn needle here. I'll thread it with the red yarn. I'll show you how to do one of these tails. And then taking that needle, I'm going to slip it underneath the stitches of that very last row and pull it through. And then I'm going to go ahead and slip it back through underneath those stitches. You want to make sure you're off a little bit, that you're not going through the same 4 stitches. So I'll go under 4 stitches, then 3 stitches, then 2 stitches, pull that tight, clip that thread, and that is nice and woven in. Just go ahead and do this with the rest of your ends. So now we're ready to go ahead and single crochet into the double crochets along the edge of our cowl. We're going to be single crocheting over these extra tail ends here. And to do this, we're going to put 2 single crochet into each double crochet on the edge, except for 3 of them. 3 of these double crochets we're only going to put 1 single crochet into. And the way I'm doing this is I'm just picking these 3 medium colors, and the second double crochet in each of them, that's where I'm only going to work 1 single crochet, and I will show you how I do that. So first we're going to slip stitch to our work. So put your hook through the work, yarn over, make sure you have a decent tail so we can weave it in, yarn over and pull through, and then we'll pull that tight, and that gets us nice and slip stitch to our work, gets us ready to go. So yarn over and pull through to make 1 chain, and then work 2 double crochet into, 2 single crochet into the sides of these 2 double crochet. So from now through the rest of the project, we'll only be working with single crochet and chains. So now we're doing 2 single crochet into this next double crochet into the side of the double crochet. And then for the first medium color, we are going to work 2 single crochet in there. And then for the second one, we're only going to work 1 single crochet. The goal is to have 29 single crochet on the edge of your cowl. How you do it is completely up to you. This is just how I decided to do it. Another good way to do this would be to grab some stitch markers and mark 3 of the double crochet to make it nice and easy to know where you're only putting 1 single crochet. So now working into that lighter red, we're going to work 2 single crochet into the sides of this light red here, 2 single crochet into the next light red stitch, 2 single crochet into the first medium maroon stitch, and then only 1 single crochet into the second maroon stitch. And then working back into the light red, we're going to do 2 single crochet into both of those double crochet. Two single crochet into the medium maroon stitches if you're doing the red pattern, and then 1 single crochet into the second maroon stitch or second medium color, And then we're going to finish off the rest of this row with 2 single crochet into every double crochet. And if you can see here, I am working on these areas where I have carried up my yarn, so that gets them nice and hidden, and also saved you a lot of tail to weave in. Any trick to saving finishing work is always one that I try to go with. So this very last maroon one was not part of the 3 that I selected to have 1 single crochet. We are going to work 2 single crochet into both of these double crochet stitches. And the importance is simply to have 29 single crochet along the edge. If you see here, I like how this is nice and even at the edge. When I was doing a larger amount, 2 double crochet and 2 single crochet into each double crochet, it was starting to fan out, and I didn't want that, so that's why I omitted some. It's also going to be important to have the 29 when we start doing buttonholes as well. So now to row 2 for this button closure, we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to be working into the back loop only. You're going to single crochet into the back loop only of every stitch across. Just yarn over and pull up, yarn over and pull through both loops on the hook to create a single crochet, working into that back loop only. So the top of each loop makes a V, and we're going to go in through the center of that V and out through the back of that V in order to work into the back loop only. And I'm going to do this all the way across. So here we finished row 2. We're just going to chain up 1 and turn, and repeat the process for row 3 through row 11. So we'll do this until we have a total of 11 rows, all worked as single crochet into the back loops. And that's going to give you a really nice ribbed texture along the edge. This is going to be the button enclosure that we sew our buttons to. And then once we're done with this side, we'll fasten off, go work the other side, and the other side we will put some buttonholes into so that we can go ahead and close up this cowl. So we're finishing up row 11, and you can see how we're starting to get a really nice, pretty ribbed texture here. Just go ahead and clip our yarn to fasten off, yarn over one more time and pull it through. That will create a knot at the end. And then now we're ready to go ahead and start the other side. And you can see here how we have such a pretty rib texture that I really think gives this cowl a unique look. Now when we go ahead and start the other side, you are going to want to note where we started on this side, and we're going to want to start on the same end on the other side. So we want to make sure that our starting point is the same, and this is going to matter whenever we single crochet around the whole edge. So grab our yarn again, go through that very last stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over again, and this will be a slip stitch, so we can slip stitch to our work. We'll chain up 1, and then once again we're going to work 29 down the edge of the double crochets, and we will do that by working 2 single crochet into each double crochet, and then 1 single crochet into 3 of the double crochets. And in this case I just chose the 3 of the black stitches to do that with. So I went ahead and worked my 29 across, finishing up there, and then on this side we're going to have our buttonholes when the other side is where we're going to sew our buttons on. So we're going to chain 1 and turn. We've already worked row 1, so now we're going to work row 2, 3, and 4 exactly as we did on the other side. Sorry, 2, 3, 4, and 5 exactly how we did on the other side. And it's row 6 where we'll be inserting in our buttonholes. So here you can see I have rows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks a little odd because we do have that rib texture. We're going to yarn over, chain up, and we're going to work single crochet in the back loop only for the first 5 stitches. This is row 6 where we're adding in our buttonholes. So the first 5 stitches are single crochet, yarn over, pull through to make 1 chain. This is our buttonhole. We're skipping this first stitch and we're being worked into that second stitch. And then from here we're going to single crochet 5 more. So it's 5 chain, skip a stitch, 5 chain, skip a stitch. So we're working 5 more single crochet here. We're going to chain 1, skip the next stitch, work into the second stitch here, and we'll work another 5 single crochet. Alright, another buttonhole, so we're going to chain 1, skip a stitch, work into the next stitch, work 5 single crochet, still in the back loops only for the entire project. We want to keep that texture going, that nice pretty rib texture. We're working 5 more single crochet, going to chain 1, skip a stitch, work into the next stitch, and then just work 5 more single crochet until we reach the end. Now you got these cute little buttonholes here that they look small, but they will be big enough for our buttons to go through. We're going to chain 1 and turn. And so we're going to work rows 6 through 11, and we're just going to single crochet in the back loop only. And even with the chains there, the chains will have a back loop. So we'll single crochet into the first 5 stitches, single crochet in the back loop only in the chains. Just keep that rib texture going. So 5 single crochet in the back loop only. So this is that chain, and I'm just going to treat that like it's a single crochet because I'm going to go into the back loop only of the chain and keep working down, and you'll work this all the way down. I want to keep working this way until we reach the end of row 11, and that is where I am here. We're at the end of row 11, just working the rib texture all the way up through row 11. And now what we're going to do is work down the side of our cowl, or really the top and the bottom, and in order to do that we're going to chain 1, and we're going to work into the side of every one of these single crochets. And actually what I do here to make it easy for me, however you do it is up to you, is that I look at the spot where you would normally stick your hook into. You can reach that from the side and you can reach that from the top. And that's kind of how I keep track of where and that's where I like to insert the hook for this crocheting down the side of these stitches. I just look where that top of that stitch is and go right underneath it. And the way to do that is on the ones that are, some of them will be facing your way and you can push into the center of that stitch. And then on the other side that's ribbed the other way, I'll just come up, push through that stitch there. You can see a little bit of a V. It's kind of hard to see, but if you're familiar with working with single crochet, you might notice it. Again, it's not super important to do it this way. It's just how I like to do it. I can kind of see a little bit of a V here, and I'll just push my hook through the center of that stitch, of that single crochet, in order to be able to put another single crochet through the side of these single crochets. So once we finish working down the side of the single crochets, now we are going to work into the top or the bottom, depending on which way you have it turned, of the double crochets. So this is actually the bottom. This is where I worked into those back bumps of the starting chain. And now I'm just going to be working into the other side of that chain in order to single crochet down the bottom of this cowl. And you'll just go ahead and continue single crocheting down the bottom of each of these stitches until you reach the end of the cowl. So here we are on the other side. I went ahead and single crocheted down the side of the ribbed stitching. I'm going to chain one at the corner, and then working on the top of the single crochet, once again I'm going to single crochet in the back loop only down along this row. And this is why it was important to make sure that we started our ends on the same side, because otherwise single crocheting in the back loop only wouldn't be continuing the pattern, it'd be messing up the pattern on the edge. It's not a huge deal if you come across that, it just looks a little different. Here I went ahead and got through the end of that row. I'm back at my corner. Again, I'm going to chain one and then start working down the sides of the ribbing again. Just one single crochet into the side of the single crochet, and then one single crochet into what is now the top of the double crochet stitches here. Alright, so we've reached our last corner, and here we're just going to go ahead and clip our yarn and fasten off. Pull that tight to create a knot, and you'll go ahead and weave in those ends. You can see how that looks with that edging all the way around. And then now it's time to go ahead and put our buttons on. So I just want to show you a quick trick for placing your buttons. I'm taking my needle, laying one side over the other, lining them up, finding my buttonhole, and sticking my needle in that buttonhole. Pull the top part off. You can see my needle here, a little hard with the gray on gray. But then I'll place my button directly on top of where I put that needle, and that will show me where to sew in my button. I'll use my embroidery floss to go ahead and sew it there, and then when I get ready to place my second button, I'll just line this back up, find the second buttonhole here, put my needle into that second buttonhole, pull it through, and then put my next button where that needle is. Once your buttons are sewed on, your cowl is completely done, and you can wear this cowl in a variety of different ways. My husband likes to wear it with the two buttons done and the two bottom ones undone, so it kind of opens up over his shoulder. You can wear all the buttons closed and wear it up over your face like a ski mask. You can also unbutton the first two and turn it down so it looks a little bit more like a collar. But overall, it's a very versatile piece that's really easy to wear. And so I hope you like this video tutorial for this plaid cowl. Give me a thumbs up. If I see enough thumbs up, I will go ahead and do a video tutorial for the women's infinity scarf version of this cowl. Make sure you subscribe, and while you're at it, check out my blog. The link will be in the description box below to see all the other fun free crochet patterns that I have. Until next time.